But I'm saying there's a time when you're put on the spot, I guess you would say, and you have to be able to and willing to be like, okay, you know what? I've counted the cost. This is all worth it. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I'm going to try to do it in a loving way.
What does the lion say? This isn't a joke. What did the lion say to the whatever? But remember when the lions got
Oh my goodness.
the cowardly lion?
Yes, the cowardly
that
lion.
had no courage.
I know, no courage.
Remember that scene where he's got the robe?
Uh-huh.
Which was like a rug or something he picked up.
Yeah.
Took the flower pot, broke it, put it on his head.
Yeah, the broken pot for a crown.
So
it's great.
What does he have that nobody else has?
A broken pot on his head? What do you mean?
You see, this wasn't supposed to be a joke.
Sorry.
That would be the punchline?
Well, he didn't have courage at first.
No, he's saying, I'm not going to do the impression. Anyway.
I know.
So what he says is, when he was singing.
Yeah.
Because they do a lot of singing in that movie.
Courage, yes.
What do they have that I don't have? Then he would go, courage. Courage.
Yes.
With the
Yes, with his face like that. That was perfect.
Anyway.
Speaking of courage, it takes a little bit of courage to get on here every time. I'm just saying, because honestly, I get nervous and I start moving around a lot. If you notice that,
yeah.
That's when I start.
I do, but when I do, it's my legs shaking.
Your legs, and you can't see that, but
I'm hyper.
Me, I like bounce or make weird faces. Like, this is just how I am. Actually, bouncing is usually because I'm hyper, but when I make weird faces, it's because I'm nervous. Just to let you guys all know, full disclosure.
Anyway, today's episode is yours. This is what you wanted to talk about, so I'm gonna let you lead it, and I'm just gonna go grab myself a coffee, and I'll be right back.
Wait a what?
No.
Quit testing me.
I'll be here. You lead. I'll follow.
Okay, well.
You got to have some courage.
I got to have some courage. You know what I have? I have to have courage every day I go out to the garden. You know why? Because there's these little things that like to go around and freak me out. And Robert thinks it's funny, but whenever you hear me squeal out in the yard, it's because I saw something. And guess what that is, dear? What is it that I see? I'm asking you a question.
The half-eaten plant because the deer got to it?
No, what?
That is true sometimes.
Yes, that is true. And that's usually not a squeal. It's more like a cry and tears.
Okay. So, it's a snake.
Yeah, it's a garter snake. They're not poisonous.
I'll be around. I'm outside working too. And I'm doing my own thing. And you're doing your thing. Mm-hmm. Every time I hear a little...
Eek.
Yeah.
I squeal.
Louder than that.
Yeah.
I come around the corner with the shovel.
I don't want to blast your guys' ear.
But
anyway, point is, I do get a little freaked out by those.
Of them.
I know. I don't know what it is. But they just
like your plants.
I know. I need to look into that. But anyway, yeah. So I see those snakes, and man, just even get near them, I get the EBGBs. I just can't. I don't know why. It's irrational, I'm sure, but I get freaked out, right? So
a lot of people don't like snakes.
Yeah.
Or have a fear of snakes.
Yeah. It's, and then I also had a friend I used to have a friend in school. She had like a ginormous snake at her house. That's why I never went to her house. But anyway, point being is we all have to have courage in our lives to get through the day sometimes. Even if it's something as small as a little garter snake that's not going to hurt you, we need courage. It's important, for a lot of things to function in life, really, right? Yeah. I mean, you can't really do it without having some type of bravery or some type of, courage in general. But yeah, I want to ask you a question.
All right.
Okay. So here it is.
Wait.
Are you preparing yourself?
We've done this before.
What? Questions?
You used to ask me questions on the spot.
I did. Johnny on the spot. Okay. Yes. Okay. So did you have to have courage to ask me to marry you?
Did I have to have courage?
Uh-huh. Were you nervous? Was it scary?
No.
As in?
It wasn't scary. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it was.
I think it was more natural.
What if I answer wrong and it doesn't help your point?
That's true. Good point.
I don't think I really needed courage.
Uh-huh.
It was more of, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it was more.
Let's just see how this goes, kind of thing.
I would, and I think it was also the type of person, place we were at in life too. Like you didn't really need it, and I didn't really need it because we were just kind of set. Like it was set in our heads that this was going to happen. I think the outcome. So
yeah, you know what?
I
think you're right.
It was more
I think
of a
that's
natural.
what it was. That's for some people. I know the
Nerves
popping the big question is very nerve wracking, and they need a lot of courage. Mm-hmm. But you're right. Where we were. Mm-hmm. Before I had asked you, we both kind of already knew that's where we were going to be anyway.
Yeah, the concession was
so
already
yeah,
there.
I was like, are we going to do this or what?
I know, right? It's not like
now
if you had done it the proper way.
No, I don't.
Maybe you would have had to have some courage.
Don't confuse no one. I didn't actually say that. Let's just do this.
No, you didn't actually say that.
But that was kind of the mindset, though, right?
And it was kind of how you said it too. But, it wasn't like the whole thing where you have all the people around and you get on your one knee and you're like, will you marry me?
Oh, man. Okay.
I read a lot of inspirational Christian books, and there's some like that. I'm just saying.
Is this going to be the third episode in a row where, because it's no surprise by now, that I always have something to say and I got problems with things, with the way people do things.
You have issues.
The way the world operates. Mm-hmm. So let me just say this one.
Oh, no. Tread carefully here because I like those happy things.
Okay.
Makes me happy, you guys.
Okay, I'm going to say this and you tell me what you think.
Okay, I'll tell you. I hope you're
I'm speaking prepared. To the viewers.
Have courage.
I don't need courage.
You might.
This. I don't need courage for things like this.
Oh, okay.
I just need a filter. That's all I need. So, when you pop the big question, don't get your camera out and have somebody film it and then post it. This isn't for the world to see. This is between you and your future wife or husband. If it's a woman that decides to ask, it happens.
Yeah.
It's for you guys, and maybe some close relatives, some loved ones. Maybe they want to experience it, but it reminds me of that whole thing where I see videos of people. Now they're doing good. Mm-hmm. They're helping, like, say, the poor, like homeless, and they see them and they give them money or they feed them or they show that they care. But there's a camera there filming it all. And then it goes on TikTok or Instagram or where are we at here? YouTube. It goes on all this, right? Millions of views, right? So what are you doing it for? Are you doing it out of the own kindness of your heart and you really care about this person? Then do it in private. The Bible teaches that, to do your good deeds in private.
In secret, yeah.
God sees it. The world doesn't need to see it.
I can see the angle, though, and I'll push on that because I always do, is that it also inspires other people to do similar things.
Yeah.
When people see, and because of the audience, because of the way social media works, it does spread out there, and there is a thing called pay it forward, and you do see that sometimes. And so there are, I think, again, it's always back to that intent again and what the intent is. So I think sometimes when you do pop the big question or whatever, and it's in front of a camera, sometimes it's because you honestly want to share that moment with other people that can't see that or can't be there for it. So there are different.
Do you mean when they're like at a baseball game and they have to put it on the big screen for the crowd to see that to the strangers?
I'm talking about people that have family members in other countries that can't be there when the question happens and they want to experience it with them.
I understand that.
So there is some reasons for that. I'm just saying.
But at the baseball game.
Okay, well, what is it called? The Megatron or the
Jumbotron?
Jumbotron? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of... Anyway, but...
Declaring it to the world.
Whatever. I still think it's kind of sweet. That's the romantic in me. Just leave it alone.
You book reader, go.
Yes, I am a book reader, and I tend to read a lot of inspirational Christian romance books. FYI, shout out to all my author friends. You guys rock. But anyway, I digress. So I was thinking about courage a lot. I've been thinking about courage a lot lately, because I feel like lately there's been a call on my heart to, stand up for certain things in my life, stand up for things that are important to me. Because a lot of the time we tend to, I guess, fade into the background. We tend to stand down. And I think there's a time and a place when we need to stand for what's right. And I think that takes courage. It takes realizing that whatever you do, that there may be consequences because of that action, but doing it anyway because it's the right thing to do, and so
why is that hard to do sometimes?
why is it
to be bold in your beliefs like that, or what's on your heart?
You have to weigh the outcome. You have to weigh what's worth more to
Am I
you.
going to lose a friend? Am I going to lose a family member?
Am I going to lose the whole family?
Or whole family because of me speaking up?
Speaking out.
What we do, why we do it, is because we are meant to please God, not humans.
Yeah.
Not, it says man, but that means people. We're meant to not worry about pleasing people. I mean, we do, right? But staying in this context, we are to please God.
Yeah.
Do what's pleasing
we should
to
always
God.
choose God first. We still can please men, and we still are supposed to be at peace with men as much as possible and as much as we can.
Yeah.
But
when it comes to one or the other,
choosing God or choosing the basically affirmation or the high five from man, you always should choose God, or at least that's how we believe. And so I think it's really honestly a matter of what is the most important thing to you. Is it is it your social status? Is it your, bank account? Is it your, because a lot of the time, eventually it's going to come down to, and I believe this, it'll come down to, you're going to lose a lot of big things when you stand up for God. And it's a hard thing to take. I mean, because we're human. I mean, like, who wants to not have that kind of, likability and that kind of status and that kind of thing. So for me, it's been pressing on my heart is like, I've got this, yearning to make sure that God and his word is being honored. And it's hard because, again, the word of God is a lot of contrary to a lot of what the world is and what the world wants and what people want to hear. There's truth in it and the truth in it, and guess what? The truth hurts and it stings. But doing it in a way that's loving as best as you possibly can. But eventually, it's where the rubber meets the road, and you're going to have to.
Well, the Bible tells us we are going to lose friends, family, status, relationships.
Yeah.
Because of our faith, because when we stand firm in our faith.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
And I would say, just press with the audience and people that are watching us right now. Maybe this is a time to reflect on what you've stood for, in your faith, and what you've lost, and to count it and see if, I'm praying that it was all worth it, right? I mean, depending on what it is.
And we are going to be hated.
Yeah. By
many, by the world, right?
There's a lot of people out there that do that right now that are very courageous. And, I'm not saying that you go out and protest. I'm not saying you go do, do crazy things or any of that. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying there's a time when you're put on the spot, I guess you would say, and you have to be able to and willing to be like, okay, you know what? I've counted the cost. This is all worth it. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I'm going to try to do it in a loving way. But I've got to be with God. I've got to be with God. And if I'm not with him, then where am I?
So I think about this verse when I'm talking about who we are meant to please.
Yeah.
And what's short term and what's long term.
Yeah.
So this is in Romans 12:2. And I know you're going to do a verse at the end. We usually do. But I just wanted to read this one here. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect.
Okay.
So I read it and you elaborate.
Thanks,
if you can.
Well, right there it said what is good and pleasing and acceptable. It didn't say to the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. That's the key factor here. The world says a lot of things, and a lot of things that aren't true. And
a lot of lies.
A lot of lies, as you said in the past. But what we believe and what we believe in, we believe is the truth. And so we need to guard it. We need to represent it. We need to be the spokesperson for the truth. That is what we should be doing. again, we want to be, I'm going to push this because it's important. We want to not try to offend people if possible. But eventually what's going to happen is when truth meets lies, there is going to be a conflict of interest. And people are going to have issues with what you believe. Even if you're not pushing it on them, they will have issues because they'll feel that push and that conviction on their hearts. Mm-hmm. And so when that happens, you can choose to whether, you go and you kind of play like the cowardly lion, or you decide to just plow forward. And in fact, in The Wizard of Oz, he ends up getting that, certificate for, being for his courage. And it wasn't a physical thing. It was that he actually stepped out in faith, I guess you would say. And he had courage, and he went forward and did what he needed to do, no matter the cost, risking his life.
And he found out he wasn't given any powers or any,
mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? He didn't get a shot and, okay, now you're
yes.
full of courage.
No.
It was always in him.
Yeah.
He just had to pull it out.
Yeah. He had to act. And that is what I've been feeling called to do in this last year, is to act. And it's hard. And for me, I'm not very confrontational depending on the situation. I'm not very confrontational on certain things, especially, when I see the risk.
You're very loving toward everybody,
mm-hmm.
and loved by a lot of people.
Oh, thanks, dear.
But so I think that makes it even harder for you to do things like this.
Yeah,
because you're speaking.
Because it is hard. I don't want to hurt anyone, and I think it's difficult because, again, it's that you don't want to push on anyone, and you don't want to hurt anybody by what you say, and yet the problem is, it's really not up to me if they're hurt or not. It's not on me. I don't have that responsibility. It's up to them and their response. I only have the responsibility of, saying what I need to say and following the lead that God gives me to, the calling that he gives me to say something.
And sometimes, I don't know, I don't think I'm wrong on this, but sometimes you need to hurt people to, what I mean, not intentionally, but you need to hurt people for them to, I don't know, get better or be saved from something.
You have to be honest with them.
Well,
I wouldn't say hurt, but...
Okay, let me give this example and then tell me if it makes sense more.
Kind of, I guess it is.
Let me see if it makes sense more. So, and I gave this a few weeks ago. I gave this example. I'll give it real quick. A little kid
you said that before.
whose brain is not developed enough to... just not developed, right?
Yeah.
They don't know a whole lot. Mm-hmm. And they're running out into the road. Mm-hmm. They're playing. Little kid playing out in the road.
Mm-hmm.
And cars are coming.
Yeah.
The parent goes and grabs them, mm-hmm. yanks them out of danger,
mm-hmm.
right? That they didn't see coming.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, the kid scraped his knee or something.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did you take them away from what they were enjoying, but you hurt them in the process.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you did it for good,
mm-hmm.
and you did it for their well-being.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it would be better...
Now, tell me that makes sense, or I will delete this.
I think it makes sense. I think you said it before. That's why it probably makes sense. I was just going to say, that's how God does with us. He has things happen. We go through trials and tribulations and turmoil sometimes, because that is what ends up getting us to where we need to be. There has to be some pain and there has to be some suffering sometimes to realize what we have and what we don't have. And so, that injury, like what they talk about, cauterizing a wound.
Usually you're injuring the heart, though, is what it is.
Yeah, it's a little push, a little press on the heart. But you have to do that sometimes to get results. But again, it's not...
like, like your plants, when your flowers,
oh, man.
When you were learning gardening.
That was hard.
A while back.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't understand it because they're blooming.
Yeah.
And they look so beautiful, these flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you bring them inside. And I'm like, what is that? You killed it. Like you clipped it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The petals and everything.
Yeah.
And you bring in the whole bulb, or what is it called when it's the whole thing?
Yeah.
When it's bloomed.
Yeah.
By the stem.
Blossom, yeah.
You bring it in. I'm like, what'd you do? That was perfectly healthy. But you said it's nurturing it.
Mm-hmm.
By doing that, you're allowing it to grow, flourish.
Yes, you cut
right?
out, you deadhead. You have to deadhead the flowers at some point.
We have to deadhead people. Because,
Well, that's a little extreme, but I think,
but does that make sense?
yeah.
Right?
But I mean, for me, the courage wasn't really about what kind of response I was getting out of them. It was more courage to do what I felt God was leading me to do. And then it was on God and it was on that person for whatever response. So I wasn't eliciting or trying to elicit a response from them.
Yeah, I guess what
I was just trying to do what God called me to do, whether or not I suffered for it.
Yeah, so these examples I was giving is kind of off a little bit of what you mean,
Yeah.
but you were doing it for a certain purpose, right?
Because I was.
But I guess what I was saying is, but inevitably, you're also doing it for them, or inadvertently,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I guess. Yes, sure.
No? What?
I'm trying
Do
to
I gotta
understand
delete
what
this too?
I don't know, but I think it, yeah, in a way, I think because God called me to do it, it is going to do, because usually when God calls us to do something or we're felt led to do or pressed on our spirit or
That it's not just for us.
that it's not just for us, because God is always intentional.
Yeah.
It never affects just one person. I mean, like anything in life, like when some kind of reaction happens, we got to think it's not just stops with us. There's a chain reaction, and it goes throughout whoever's around in the surrounding area. There's going to be a reaction to it. So, yes, inadvertently, if that's what you're trying to say, inadvertently, it may
What did I
affect the
say?
others. No, you said inevitably.
Inevitably.
Yeah. And then anyway, but
But
point.
the second time did I say
Yes,
it
you
correctly?
said it correct.
Okay.
And so anyway, yes, it would, not by my strength or my might, but by God's strength and God's might and his power, that it would affect those people hopefully positively in the right way, and they were ready to receive. It's all about God's timing on those kinds of things, and having courage. Speaking of which, because we've been learning about Esther in my Bible study, it was about, she had come about at such a time to save the Jewish people. It was the timing. It was because she stood up and she had the courage, but it was all God's timing when that was going to be, when the people were going to be the most receptive, when everything was going to go down, everything fell into place. But she had to have the courage. She had to do that forward step, to follow God's lead, to follow his calling. And it was obedience. Honestly, a lot of the time, courage, when it comes to what I'm referring to, I believe is obedience to God, to have courage to stand up for what and sometimes we make mistakes even in our courage. We might say something wrong, or we might do something wrong or whatever, but initially it's again that intent that God will work it for his good.
I say a lot of things wrong. Not just vocabulary wise, but with you know what I mean, without the filter, and I say things, whether to people, straight up to people, or I vent to you. But what you said though, but it's the intent. Where it's coming from is all good intent. It just doesn't know how to
come out, form correct words. And so I think that's a key fact is, as people observing other people that are trying to be courageous or trying to do the right thing, how is your response to them? If somebody, like if you're coming up to me and you're trying to tell me something that you feel led, that God's telling you, how am I going to respond? Usually when I get called out, which happens quite a bit, I get upset right at first, and then I calm down eventually, and I'm like, okay, well, that kind of made sense. But I'm going to try to work on that, where my response to somebody's courage or their calling, whatever it is I'm going to try to do better and be more receptive to it, so I'm not so defensive on the first shot. Because, why are we so defensive all the time? It's almost like we have this thing where we're like, wow, we're so quick to defend ourselves.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother episode right there.
I know, it could be.
Yeah.
Why are we so quick to fight back? Yeah. And why are we so quick to see the negative?
Yeah, always
right?
defensive on everything and anything.
Let's examine our hearts. Let's see what's really at the root of all this.
And there's verses for that, right? Slow to speak, slow to anger.
Yeah.
And quick to listen.
Exactly. So. That's not easy. It's not easy. Usually I have to get thumped over the head with the Bible to be able to.
I can do that. I'm a Bible thumper.
Well, I know. But see, some people's heads are a little stronger than others. That's what
the world calls me.
And when you thump, you have to really thump.
Yeah. So if you're gonna call me that, then I'm gonna find the biggest Bible.
Oh yeah.
The heaviest. I'm gonna find the mallet.
Oh, that's great. That's just pleasant.
See
Are, we
what I mean?
are you
See
talking
what I
about
mean?
yourself?
No, about thumping. If I'm gonna thump, I'm gonna
Well, you know what I encourage you guys to do? Thump yourselves over the head with the Bible before you thump somebody else over the
before
head.
I do it. No, I'm just. It's a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not Bible thumpers. Come on. Anyway,
But yeah.
so did you say everything you had to say?
I think I did. I think
Yeah?
I came across. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little hard for me to say because it takes some
Take some courage.
courage.
Anyway,
Courage
so
the Cowardly Lion.
you're gonna take us out with the verse.
I'm gonna take you out.
And you're going to read it in a way that you're impersonating the lion from Wizard of Oz.
I don't know how to do that, so I'm not going to do that. That was a misnomer. Okay.
Go
Here.
for it. Oh,
What?
you know what I didn't do last episode?
What'd you not do last? You know what I didn't do last episode?
Huh?
I was gonna say congratulations to somebody and I forgot.
To who?
My cousin. She just graduated, you guys. Congratulations, Avonlea, for graduating. I finally got it in right at the end.
Well, there you go.
Woohoo!
Had I not paused, you would have forgot again.
See, it was meant to be. Timing is everything.
But what I forgot last week was to do the words of wisdom.
How dare you?
So, and our editor's been wanting to do this, right? So now is a perfect opportunity.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
Maybe with a special effect. But we're going to say, you're going to take us out.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, give us our words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom.
Okay. 1 Corinthians 16:13. Be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong. Thanks for watching. If you like this show, hit that free subscribe button and share this video. We are on Facebook and Instagram. Also, check out our full-length podcasts on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. The links are provided in the description below. Thank you.